Everybody knows that all the people don't have liberties, all the people don't have freedom, all the people don't have justice, and all the people don't have power, so that means none of us do.
Jello Biafra for the Independent Media Center and the camcorder Truth Jihad.
The only thing that's going to stop this is a militant demonstration against the city of San Francisco.
Hey, hey!
The movement is intending to fill the streets and reclaim the streets and reclaim the spaces that have been absolutely hijacked.
I think there's a lot of people here for how freezing cold it is out here. I'm really excited. I did not think there was going to be this many people. I'm just totally pumped.
My name is Peter Burgell. I'm the director of Oregon Peaceworks now. But years ago, I was involved with the Trojan Decommissioning Alliance and with other organizations that were involved with trying to stop the Trojan nuclear power plant. I think it's important to look back a little bit on the history of what happened and what stopped the Trojan plant and other nuclear plants in Oregon. My part was to be involved in two of the sit-ins at the Trojan nuclear plant in 1977 and 1978, after having worked on educational efforts, working at the legislature, having worked out a failed ballot measure. We finally said, okay, well, we've tried the channels that the society has open for us to use to affect change, and now it's time to go outside the law and challenge the power, the nuclear power, directly, and create what Martin Luther King called a moral crisis. And I think we were effective at doing that. A lot of people were awakened to the struggle and the problems with nuclear power as a result of what we did. We took it to the ballot in 1980 and passed it with 52% of the vote. It requires an operating federal nuclear waste repository to be in operation before new nuclear plants can be built in Oregon, and furthermore, it requires a vote of the people before that can be done. So that has secured the state of Oregon from the depredations of nuclear power from 1980 until the present time, with the exception of the Trojan nuclear plant. It's possible for citizens of this state and citizens of other states around the world, around the country, to get serious about something that they feel is wrong, do something about it, and make change. So today, we celebrate the success of citizen action. So with that, I'll pass it on to some of the other people who are going to tell you a little bit more about the specific Trojan story.
When I heard the plant was going to go down, I was kind of upset about it, because I love to drive to Seattle and see it there. It's a trophy. It's a monument to what people can do, you know, and what organized people can do. You know, it had a green light from the financial community, from the political community, and you know, who were we? We were a bunch of nobodies. But in the end, because we were right, we prevailed, and it's a monument to that. On the other hand, seeing it come down, it gave people a chance to relearn the history all over again. We don't have any more chances to get the energy system and its link to the economic system correct. We've got global warming coming at us like a train. We've got the end of oil, and we've got nuclear waste, which is burdening our future into infinity, you know, we have to make the right decisions.
Margaret Mead once said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." At Trojan, this phenomena of a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens was experienced many times over. It was all the people being hauled off to jail in all the occupations that took place over the years. It was all the people who testified at legislative and licensing proceedings. It was all the lawyers who litigated. It was all the people who gathered signatures and signed petitions year after year. It was all the people who freely gave of their talents and resources. It was quite simply all the people who cared.
Nuclear waste is going to be so dangerous it has to be isolated from water and earth, from all living beings, for 500,000 years, for longer than mankind has had fire, and we got massive amounts of it. You can't dispose of nuclear waste. All you can do is move it from one place to another.
These are good spots, and so we're going to check out one more and then we'll be with you guys.
What are your thoughts about the thing across the river?
I'm excited. It's gonna be so cool to watch. It's gonna be. I think it reminds me of Mount St. Helens erupting. Yeah.
It just seemed to me that the problem was significant enough, and I realized that for once in my life there was something that I couldn't run from. There was no place to go. I mean, ultimately, you know, the day came where I had to make, at least in my own life, I had to make a decision as to whether, you know, I was going to worry about where the next dollar was coming from, or you know, try and do something about this. You have to think to yourself, when the hell are we going to finally say enough is enough? You know, when are we going to put a stop to this and make, you imagine all that money that could have been used to, you know, put photovoltaic panels on people's houses and build a sustainable energy reality that we don't have to worry about terrorists running their airplanes into our windmills, you know.
I don't really remember a lot from there because I was probably 6 or younger. I remember going in and seeing my dad at the jail and visiting him at jail with my godfather, Dave Berger. He brought me in. So, you know, that's like the biggest memory I have.
The Trojan plant was killed by citizen activism, and the proof of that is that there were 8 other utilities that had nuclear plants that had exactly the same problem as Trojan. All these Westinghouse plants had steam generators which were burning out decades ahead of their time. In every other case, all the other 8 utilities, they paid $250 million, spent the money, brought in new steam generators, kept the plants running. The one that died was Trojan. The reason it died is because PGE's management took a look down the road and they said, you know, we faced 3 challenges from initiative backers, and each time they've gotten closer to taking us out. It was 43% in the last campaign in 1992. And at that point, they knew that we'd get them sooner or later, and it didn't make sense to keep up the fight.
Es un movimiento que viene desde hace más o menos 80 días, ¿no? Desde que inicia el movimiento magisterial. Lo que pasa es que ahora el movimiento magisterial se une a todas las demandas del pueblo, se conjuntan, y después del 14 de junio muchas organizaciones se levantan, ya estaban apoyando de hecho al magisterio. Entonces se organizan, el 16 de junio se conforma la Asamblea Popular del Pueblo de Oaxaca, que alberga a muchísimas organizaciones a nivel del Estado, no nada más del municipio, sino a nivel del Estado, y entonces coinciden en algunos puntos, fundamentalmente en la salida de Ulises Ruiz. A partir de eso se empiezan a dar una serie de movilizaciones, se hacen megamarchas, la última megamarcha. A la última megamarcha acuden 1 millón de personas allá en el estadio Benito Juárez, se llena, está a reventar, y sin embargo tanto la televisión nacional, el canal 13, Televisa, esta televisora que es el canal del estado de Oaxaca, empiezan a minimizar. Entonces varias mujeres que participaban en el movimiento como Colona deciden convocar a la marcha de las cacerolas, para que todas las mujeres oaxaqueñas saliéramos a las calles a refrendar el apoyo al movimiento popular de Oaxaca, a la Asamblea Popular del Pueblo de Oaxaca, y a exigir donde pudieran ser escuchadas las organizaciones y las demandas, ¿no?, de todo el pueblo. Se convoca la marcha, asisten cientos de mujeres, asistimos a ese llamado cientos de mujeres. Y bueno, varias de nosotras que nada más pensábamos que íbamos a esa marcha, nos quedamos aquí, ¿no? Nos quedamos aquí, el 1 de agosto nos cambió la vida, ¿no?
Solamente queríamos que estas personas nos dieran unas horas nada más, o unos minutos, para poder pasar lo que realmente es el sentir del pueblo oaxaqueño. Sin embargo, ellos nos prohibieron, apagaron sus televisores, apagaron toda conexión, y fue entonces cuando decidimos hacer la toma de manera indefinida.
La consigna era un espacio de 1 hora, de media hora, para que pudiera ser escuchadas nuestras demandas y para exigir que los medios de comunicación dijeran la verdad.
Y el equipo que se tiene es un poco obsoleto lo que observamos, pero en fin, hasta donde de ese equipo, con la ayuda de la gente, de la sociedad, pues está ahora sí difundiendo esta información, ¿no? Eso es lo que tenemos, ¿no? Y no sé, algo más que quisiera ustedes saber, porque bueno, realmente no conocemos mucho acerca bueno, ni estamos preparados técnicamente sobre cómo operan estos equipos. Lo superficialmente se hace lo que se puede, ¿no? Y hasta donde se puede, tenemos pocos días ayudando a controlar el equipo, porque los que están en locución pues están del otro lado en el foro, ¿no?
Debe ser muy emocionante, ¿no?
Es emocionante porque nunca había uno tenido la oportunidad de participar en este tipo de actividades, ¿no?
Y entonces, bueno, se toman las instalaciones, nos quedamos aquí, ¿no? y a partir de eso empieza a operar de una manera diferente. Cabe señalar que las que estamos, todas las mujeres que estamos pues aquí, que somos partícipes de este movimiento, aquí no hay líderes, todas estamos participando, unas participan como conductoras, otras estamos en el manejo de las máquinas, aún sin saberlo, inmediatamente agarramos la onda y nos dimos a la tarea de echar a andar esto, ¿no? Pero precisamente planteando la cuestión de las denuncias, haciendo que se escuchara la voz de las mujeres y la voz del pueblo de Oaxaca.
En primer lugar, no todas conocemos sobre lo que es cómo opera, más bien dicho, la televisión y la radio. Entonces se tuvieron que pedir apoyo a los universitarios, a las personas, a los compañeros que sepan sobre cómo se echa a andar lo que es la televisión.
En los primeros días no teníamos material y empezamos a utilizar la denuncia, publicamos la cuestión del desalojo, la cuestión de Atenco, la cuestión de los zapatistas, todos los movimientos que se han estado generando en el país y que para el pueblo era desconocido, ¿no? A tal grado que, bueno, te decía yo hace rato, es un orgullo para nosotras porque nos dicen que hemos superado el rating histórico, ¿no? Después de un canal que no se veía, una televisora que no se veía porque ya sabíamos lo que íbamos a ver, ¿no? El equipo allá arriba está debidamente cuidado porque luego vándalas nos atacaron que éramos unas mujeres cochinas y no sé qué, y que habíamos incurrido en actos vandálicos. No es cierto. Creo que en nuestras manos está bastante cuidado el equipo, no se ha destrozado absolutamente nada, no se ha extraído absolutamente nada, porque consideramos que todo esto se ha hecho con el dinero del pueblo.
Pues esperamos que todo esto que se ha venido haciendo en Radio Cacerola y en el Canal 9 sea de gran utilidad para el pueblo, ¿no? Y que estén conscientes y que se unan a la lucha los demás que no se han unido.
Ojalá que este movimiento también haya servido para que los medios se den cuenta que es necesario transformarlos, ¿no? Que es necesario ser plurales. No vamos a dar marcha atrás hasta que nos entreguen a nuestros compañeros vivos, bien en su integridad física y moral, y hasta la caída de Ulises Ruiz. Esa es la demanda principal que tenemos. O sea, no hay diálogo, no puede haber diálogo si no se va Ulises Ruiz Ortiz de Oaxaca por asesino, por corrupto y por todo el daño que le ha hecho a la sociedad, ¿no?
See, that would be footage I'd approve of. You could broadcast that out to the Indymedia network.
You would approve of it?
That Jessica from Arizona IMC loves to see men with cameras smashed against their face. And that I want the whole world to know that.
Okay.
That they can contact me at cienega@gmail.com and send me photos of themselves with their cameras.
Naked camera JPEGs?
No, they don't need to be naked. They just need to be...
Just have a camera.
They need to be seeing the world.
Alright, that'll be on the Indymedia Newsreal.
Be the media and be my man.
We have to illuminate the nature of the structure of power which oppresses us. It is not only in the specific and documented and orchestrated events such as those of 9/11, which is but, after all, a little continuation of the series of predations that have been visited upon the mass of our people for over 150 years, at least. Every major adventure of the U.S. rulers has proceeded on the basis of such false flag operations and such pretexts.
Whenever I'm asked, which is very often, do you think the U.S. government would be so crass and so cruel to carry off an attack against its own people that wound up resulting in the massacre of 3,000 people? I tell them this: well, they told hundreds of thousands of people who live and work in lower Manhattan the air was safe to breathe. When to this day, it was not. To this day, there's contamination down there.
They already tested it. They knew.
They knew. They knew.
These men risked their lives on 9/11, saving people that they didn't even know. They didn't know these people. It could have been any one of us in the Twin Towers, in the rubble, and these guys would have still got us out. Right? These guys.
I myself ran from Building 7 as it fell. And I heard with my own ears what sounded like a rapid succession of explosions while running. We can rebuild plane crashes completely with debris recovered by divers from the ocean, but we cannot even produce a single piece of steel from the World Trade Center, steel that hasn't already been melted down and fabricated into something else, to examine it because the stuff was shipped out of the public eye so quickly.
There's one guy that came in front of the whole task force, the whole unit, and he says, "Hey, you need to have a respirator like this, and make sure you have the blue canister." But unfortunately, there's no blue canisters. A gentleman approached me who was an NBC warfare tech. He said, "This person is specialized in poisoning the enemy and preventing us from being poisoned." We're watching on the TV, and there was a radio saying the air quality was fine. He approached me on the low and said, "Hey, the air quality is 40 times acceptable levels."
On September 11th, 2001, along with hundreds of my fellow troops, I went to Ground Zero. No one asked us, no orders were given. We went because our city, our country, our neighbors were under attack, and we knew what to do, or at least we thought we did. I came home 10 days later. I won't tell you about the vivid images of Ground Zero, there's no need to. I want to tell you tonight about the people we call heroes, about the people in front of you, about the people you've read about in the newspaper for the past week who were invisible for the past 5 years, that they were abandoned in their hour of greatest need and are still in growing numbers living in terrible physical and economic circumstances as they struggle with the carcinogenic effects of the toxic chemical soup Ground Zero became, that they still have the dignity and courage and even now fight like hell to save innocent lives, even as so many of us are dying. Can this side of the room, everybody stand up? Everybody on this side, if you're all rescue workers, will be dead in 4 years. Thank you. You'd all be dead in 4 years. That's our statistics. That's what's happening. In 7 years, it doubles. This is what Mount Sinai proved in a 17,000-page study that's on the internet. You can read about it. I want to tell you about how sick so many of these brave men and women have become. How Dr. Thomas Frieden, the Commissioner of Health for New York, has done all he could for the past 5 years to further denigrate the sacrifice of our soldiers, firemen, police, EMTs, steel workers, all the first responders, by diminishing the clinical findings of his own coroner's office over and again, his own study, and the undeniable epidemiology of those who came to this city's rescue on that eternal day. I want to tell you about how the mayor refused to accept the fact that not dozens, not hundreds, but many thousands of us were contaminated, sickened, and poisoned by the most toxic combinations of building materials in the history of disaster relief. And that for 5 terrible years, he ignored that fact. That's not how you treat people the city considered heroes. Every time Time magazine dismisses that evidence and instead writes a 2-page article about the psychology of the conspiracy movement. They perpetuate this buildup of people in very, very coordinated efforts trying to take this movement apart. We who are still dying from 9/11, who went into the towers and into that pile, now live with those buildings in our lungs and digestive systems and our blood. And if you allow these scumbags to strip you and this movement of our legitimacy, you condemn first responders to death. Everyone in this administration had motive, intent, and opportunity. Conspiracies are only evidence the courts won't hear. We came to your rescue on 9/11. Now thousands of us and our families need you to come to ours. For myself and far too many of us, research and the effective treatment is going to arrive far too late. I have double metastasizations in both lungs. We're the canaries in the coal mine. Where did all that dust go? We were also killed on 9/11. Avenge us.
Inside job! 9/11 was an inside job!